Today, I am simply quoting, with just minimal additions by myself, the author's interesting discussion about the evolution of life on Earth, simply to show the reason why we have to read this fascinating book.
When there is a choice, you have the possibility of a bifurcation. Bifurcation entails, and is based on, choice. As I always say, evolution does not come with a guarantee of success. It can lead to extinction, and in the majority of cases it has led to extinction. The plus sign on our side is that we are able to perceive it, and if we are able to perceive it we can accelerate the process. This could lead to our salvation. This is not in changing the direction but in changing ourselves. That is much more reliable than trying to figure out the strategies in terms of inputs, and outputs, and consequences. That will come, but one first has to feel the direction in which one wants to move. First, we have to become a different human being.
Exactly. We have to accept that we are the first generation of our new, first global civilization on Earth. We have to become the correspondingly new feeling and new acting human beings.
I have said for decades that evolution does not condemn or liberate us. Only our choices can do that. When we speak of first becoming human beings, I would add that there are countless non-mental qualia with which our bodies and psyches must grapple. There is the heavy burden of Darwin's thinking shaping, in part, myriad forces of primate evolution that we as species have subsumed. These are multiples of currents, views, anatomical realities that are with us. We have an internal compass, a species-wide biological clock that senses that direction, or those directions. Within that sensate itinerary, our place in evolution, we either awaken to the miracles of life, of remarkable biodiversity, or we risk going extinct. This is not a solo journey, but an ecological journey here on Earth. It can be overemphasized, all life forms are interdependent.
By means of the unified physics, we are even able to write down a precise schedule for this ecological journey.
A human being does not have a preset, unchangeable nature. We are part of the web of life that evolves, and we ourselves evolve. This evolution has now gone off on a tangent, but it is a tangent on the surface only, because the majority of the people on this planet are not pushing in that direction. They express an enduring element of humanness. They want to, and can, live together. They can live with nature and the planet. But they are placed in situations where this is not the preferred way. This is destroying nature, life on the planet.
It is shown, by the poverty, that is so endemic amongst billions of humans, as Amartya Sen has so persuasively described.
Poverty and deprivation, and the ignorance, in which they are rooted.
Well, ignorance yes. But on an empty stomach it is very difficult to read Plato or Martin Buber.
On empty stomach you could still be moving with the intuition that motivated Plato, that there is a higher reality that's the one in front of our eyes, the intuition of oneness with nature and each other. That intuition is the key to our collective survival.
I think it is the proper time to rename that intuition into our global consciousness. And to understand that also every poor, unhappy, or just hungry human being is contributing to this global consciousness, influencing our intuitive activities as species.
There is the true story of the man in India, whose wife died, because she could not be taken to a hospital quickly enough in an emergent situation, because there was no road through the mountain near their town. So for over a decade he set about, without a dime of government funding, hewing with simple tools the very 3-kilometer road that would have saved his wife. And he did it, this bereaved husband who was so committed to preventing this absence of infrastructure from ever again endangering the life of a loved one. People can do amazing things with a shovel and a pickaxe. There is a film about him now. Some people have what it takes. There is another individual in India's northeast state of Arunachal Pradesh who has spent most of his life replanting the denuded, abandoned sandspit with native trees. Large, charismatic megafauna have returned, tigers, elephants, rhinos, etc., and it is all because of just one middle-aged hero who thinks nothing of planting routinely, day by day.
It is the vision. You know what you want to do because you feel that it is something that has to be done. And when all is said and done, this vision is the best hope for humankind.
Exactly.
A tree is everything, its shade a miracle. Without it we are dead. And we have killed 50% of all forests on the planet. By most accounts, in 2100, climate change will have exposed some 75% of the human species to horrible threats, and that is without even accounting for the atrocious feedback from other declining species and their habitats. The ecological downward spiral of multiple trophic levels cannot be calculated, but we can ascertain enough of the puzzle to recognize utter disaster across the planet. And it is happening far faster than all the Nobel Prize-winning scientists ever anticipated. It is horrifying. Every species has its own metabolic liberties and constraints, but the totality of the biosphere is conditioned by over 4 billion years of evolutionary lessons that we ignore or overstep at our extreme peril. We know this, or we should know this. The great sadness is the fact of our placing that peril in the face of so many others. Such examples should teach us to plant trees, as many as we can and as fast as possible. The more than 1 million NGOs around the world are trying to plant trees, the seed of an idea, to give a child hope. Whatever the cause, the mission, there are a lot of people out there doing a lot of good. I have to believe that the ecological restoration of the earth, the great redemption, is at work in human hands. Everyone else, referring to every other species, has got it right. But we have got it wrong. So, unless we quickly become agents of resurrection within the context of our one species, having inordinately inflicted harm upon this precious planet we cohabit with all those other 100 million species, times millions of individuals per species, we are paleohistory. One more biological mistake among millions of them. But if there is this collapse, which in my mind is unambiguous, I think at this point we should think of ourselves as on a spacecraft that is going to crash land. The questions cascade. Are our seat belts tightened? Have we given any thought to what we are going to need once we crash, how we are going to reorganize ourselves, and when we do rebuild, how we can do it better? Distributive justice. Is it comprehensive to Homo sapiens? How shall we reconsider our obsolete notions of rights and duties in a biosphere so obviously interdependent? These challenges are thrilling, desperate, and of an urgent priority if we are to survive ethically. That is quite a different proposition than simply surviving, I might add.
It is not a question only of finding and giving the right instructions, or knowing what you have to do, it is also about wanting to do it. We know all that. What we are lacking is not detailed knowledge but the realization that we can change our ways, not just because we need to, but because we cannot live otherwise than by changing them. That is our survival instinct.
Or, in other words, the alarming sign of our global consciousness.